You mentioned a couple things there, a couple times actually. You mentioned the education part of it, and you talked about how you had to educate yourself and how there are a lot of physicians who are not, who aren't taking those steps to do that. Washington University School of Medicine, they just published a survey, or the results from their survey, and it's in the Journal of Drug and Alcohol Dependency, and they talked about how nearly 90% of medical students felt that they weren't well prepared to prescribe medicinal marijuana. 85% of them hadn't received any training during their studies and residencies, and more than 35% of them felt like they were ill prepared to answer cannabis-related questions. And so when you hear that, of course, I think in a lot of ways here in America, we are we're coming up to speed, but in a lot of ways we're very behind on, different types of medicine, the herbs and the alternative treatments and things of that nature. So you don't necessarily get that in regular medical school. You have to kind of go out of your way to get it. How did you said that your patients informed you, but what else did you do to kind of educate yourself to be able to do that?
Well, I think first and foremost, I think we understand how safe the medication is. And so once you understand that and you really believe that as a physician, then if you have one of the conditions that is certifiable, the real question is, why not? Because no doctor, none of us like writing for opiates over and over again.
Really?
Nobody does.
Now that's, there is a common misconception,
Right.
and I'll say, having worked in a doctor's office, way long time ago, but, there was a time when, your pharmaceutical rep comes in and they're bringing you lunch and they bring the best food and all the samples and all that. And so there was that relationship, and there was this idea that you're building this relationship so that you can continue to pass out these samples and do these prescriptions. And so now the general idea, whether it's mythology or just kind of the belief that's out there in the general public, is that the doctors don't want to prescribe it, or they don't want you to reduce the amount of opioids that you're taking. And now you're telling us that it's actually the opposite of that. So talk a little bit about that.
The tide has changed with opiates, right? We realize now, and I don't think any one entity is to blame on the opiate epidemic.
Sure,
there was the drug companies that were making a lot of money. There was also JCO, and these are the patient safety and quality boards that we believe in, telling us, hey, you should treat all pain, you should get ahead of it, you should ask your patients in the emergency room. Just 5 years ago, on top of the vital signs, heart rate, blood pressure, they made a column for pain score. So they wanted us to address it. Not saying that they never said give them opiates, but we were put on a lot of pressure. And then of course beautiful drug reps would come into our offices with delicious food, and everyone, and they would say, use our product, use our OxyContin, use our narcotics to treat your chronic pain. So you take that, and we have created together in the healthcare community a huge opiate epidemic. But I think one point in this whole thing is that we have to talk about is the research, and why aren't we educated on it?
Yes.
So how are new drugs, and I know cannabis isn't new, but it is a newer medical medication.
Yes.
How are they introduced to doctors? There are two ways. One, the pharmaceutical reps that we talked about. They and big pharma, the pharmaceutical companies, they are the ones who really do the research. They spend lots of millions of dollars on the research. I've been a part of these research studies. They're very good studies. They know their endpoints. They're wonderful. Well, guess what? They're not going to be doing any studies on cannabis because they cannot profit from it. Makes sense. And the second way to do research on great research is the National Institute of Health, the government, right? I've been on NIH grants before. I've gotten them. I understand how they work. Cannabis right now will not be studied because it's a Schedule 1. So you cannot study a Schedule 1 in large study populations. You can do research studies like this one, which is surveys and population health and stuff that Claire's doing, and all that wonderful study, but you can't do what the gold standard of of testing is, which is the double-blind, controlled, randomized controlled studies. So now you have the way that we learn about every medication, and we can't learn about it. So doctors are skeptical, and we are trained to be skeptical about anything without science behind them. But this is the problem. You've got skeptical doctors. You've got this very safe drug that's, by the way, older than any medication we
All
use
of
today.
them, sure.
Safer than Tylenol.
Yeah.
Okay, where I've seen deaths on
Which
Tylenol.
we know Tylenol isn't good for.
Over
you.
the counter. I can buy 1,000 of them right now.
Yeah.
We have the safest drug with skeptical physicians and not huge amount of science coming. And then people wonder, well, why are doctors? Well, there's a good reason for it. And this is the situation we're in. There's people like you guys that are opening it up to your, the potential patients and patients. There are hopefully people like physicians like me giving talks around Chicago and Illinois to open the eyes of doctors saying, hey guys, I'm one of you. I run a primary care practice. I use this, and let me tell you something. I'm decreasing narcotic and benzodiazepine uses. And they all look at me and they go, really? And I was like, you should try it. You should try and get your patients on this. I promise you they won't overdose. They'll be grateful for the help, and they will make you proud, because the amount of people I've decreased on Schedule II medications is immense, and I have some of the happiest patient base because of it.
How do the doctors respond to you? How's that go?
Intrigued. They're just kind of like, what's your angle? Here's the thing.
Yeah, because it kind of sounds like peer pressure, right? It sounds like you're like, come on guys, try it.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool, it's safe, it's okay,
Right.
you know?